Good evening and welcome to the Township of Chatham Township Committee meeting for Thursday, June 20th, 2017. Greg, has adequate notice been given?
Yes, adequate notice of this meeting of the Township Committee was given as required by the Open Public Meetings Act as follows. Notice was given to the Chatham Courier and the Morris County Daily Record on January 6, 2017. Notice was posted on the bulletin board in the main hallway of the municipal building on January 6, 2017, and notice was filed with the Township Clerk on January 6, 2017. Mr. Maurer? Mr. Kelly?
Here.
Mr. Sullivan?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz?
Here.
Mayor Ritter?
Here. Do you have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
We're going to start off our meeting tonight with a presentation from the Morris County Board of Freeholders. We welcome Deb Smith, one of our freeholders who's been a great advocate for Chatham Township, so we welcome you here this evening and thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to present the budget and everything else for us this evening. And we also welcome John Bonanni, who is the Morris County Administrator. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Deb. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is this mic on? Okay. First of all, it's my pleasure to be back here in Chatham. And also, I want to thank Karen for introducing me to the Long Hill Inn. And we had a delicious meal, so I highly recommend it. I know it's not in Chatham, but it's real close. It is really my pleasure to be here and the opportunity to come out and talk to you about the county budget. The Budget Committee is made up of three freeholders, Christine Myers, Kathy DiFilippo, and myself. We meet on Tuesday mornings at 8 a.m., not to my liking because I'm retired, but we do work at 8 a.m. and we meet with all the departments to work on the budget. So today I'm here to present you with the results of that budget and the taxes that we've struck. You have handouts, so I'm going to follow that and try not to read the words because obviously you all know how to read. But you know, when doing a budget, it's very important to make sure that we maintain what we have and expand where we can, depending upon what monies we have. And you know, difficult times, there are a lot of shared services that are provided from the county to the municipalities to help everybody with their budget. We deliver critical services, and we do things like the county college vote. I call it VOTEC because that's the way I know it. We have 287 miles of county roads. One of the things that I was amazed to discover as a freeholder was we have 4 railroads, and we also are responsible for every bridge and culvert infrastructure. There are 380 buildings. The park system. I mean, I was up yesterday at the Berkshire Valley Golf Club, and I've done a tour of our parks with Dave Helmer, who's our park director. We've got almost 19,000 acres of parks, and I know Chatham benefits from that as well. And then we have the historical and natural and waste management. The next page is probably the one you want to look at the most. My philosophy of budgets is when you started a budget, you look for the zero, if it's possible. If it's possible. But with things rising, it's very hard to do that. And I think we came up with a really great tax rate, an increase of $18.44 to the average household. The average household is defined as a valuation of about $417,000. So we're talking $18.44 for the entire year. And you can see that the budget actually went down, the tax effort went up. I'll explain that. The rateable base, though, increased. Where we excel in Morris County, where we need to focus in Morris County and in the municipalities is increasing our rateable base with good ratables. And that's critical. And you can see there was a big jump from 2015, 16, and 17. So the tax rate is 25 cents, relatively flat. It's a 1.79% increase. The increases, though, are primarily from what is mandatory and contractual. So if you look at it, the major budget increase was the $6 million for health insurance. Now, it's a lot of money, and we are not in the state system. If you look at it, the state health benefit plan increased 8 points. So if we were in that, that would have gone up even more. Over the 6 years, 7 years, it went up 8.3%, and the county only went up 4.6%. We are also looking, by the way, just so you know, because somebody mentioned they like the footnotes, we are investigating at this point in time, we're starting to investigate what's best for the county going forward. Do we want to be self-insured? You know, what's going to work best for the county residents and our employees? We have the $2 million in salary adjustments, also contractual. Now, Morrisview, as you all know, Morrisview is being leased to a company called Alair Healthcare, and they're working out the final details on the contract. But even though we're doing that, when the people that have been managing it and running it, the services, and they know it's going to be short-term because someone else is coming in, those increases went up. We also have increases if there's going to be not downsizing, but outsourcing of employees. So there's unemployment insurance, so there's costs that we have in this budget that are built in. Criminal justice reform, bail reform and speedy trial, and I'm sure you're being impacted by that as well, have also caused $750,000 increase. Pension increases, also mandatory. State and human service mental health needs, also required. The only thing that we have in the budget really that was not mandatory, one is a countywide EMS system. And what was done is our director, Scott DiGirolamo, came to us and suggested that we start an ambulance squad. And if you know, volunteers are doing the EMS services, and they're working, and it's getting harder and harder to get volunteers. And if we can save one life. So the idea was to put in an ambulance that if somebody's calling into the 911 center and there's not an ambulance available, we can send that ambulance out. The other thing is, and there are also private ambulance services. You know, you can get it from St. Clair's or whatever hospital. But when the private ambulance services come out to service the residents, and they take them to the hospital, they go after them for a lot of money. They don't just accept the insurance. But as a county, we've said, we will take whatever we can get from your insurance company and not go after you. So this was a pilot program that was started this year. We're running about, what, John, 3.6 calls a day? And I think when we get up to a little over 4, that's kind of a break even from the money that we put into it. And if that continues to grow, that need grows and the service grows, we'll look at doing a second one. We're not trying to take over what you have in your municipality, but we're trying to supplement. And once again, one life saved is easily worth $500,000.
Deb, where is that based? Where's the station for that?
It'll stay at the Police and Fire Academy. However, once, you know, what happens is there's 3 really primary providers of the service outside of your local volunteers.
John, let me help you use the mic.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So there's 3 primary providers of the service. There's outside of your local volunteers. Atlantic will run services, and St. Clair's will run services, and the county runs one service. So what will end up happening is each of those ambulances will have in them a tracking system. And so the comm center is able to see wherever there's a need for a squad and will be able to call the closest available non-committed ambulance. So it'll sit at the academy until there's a demand one way or the other, and then it'll shift.
John, if I may, you rolled this program out. When you rolled out the county dispatch, which we were signed on to very early, not all the towns signed on to it. And there was supposed to be some follow-on. We would get some money back. We were one of the early participants. As more participants came in, the cost would go down, et cetera, et cetera. I look at this. We have a very, very vibrant EMS here in Chatham Township, Chatham Borough. It's a joint. This is a service that odds are we will probably never, ever need or use. So even though the cost may be overall small relative to the county, why not make towns buy in, so to speak, and roll it out that way, and then towns can make a determination. The towns that maybe don't have a vibrant emergency squad could buy in right away, and then we could buy, as other towns come on, maybe it's cheaper for them, maybe it's a better service, maybe it's a service they don't have. I don't know if you have something in front of you, but I would think these guys are pretty darn good, and they're 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
The hospitals actually don't charge you if you contract with them. What they're doing is they will charge your residents. So, I mean, that certainly would be a policy decision, but it wouldn't be a policy decision that I would recommend to the board to charge the towns, because towns that contract with Atlantic and St. Clair's right now, they don't pay the individual hospital. The residents would pay when they're using that service.
Can I ask you to just back up and do the numbers again? $500,000 for one ambulance? How many EMTs do you have?
Well, all of our EMTs are part-time EMTs, and they're
How many paid people are on duty?
Well, there's only 2 on duty for 5 days a week, but they're on for like 14-hour shifts.
And that's costing $500,000?
No,
I'm sorry, how much?
That includes that includes the rig itself.
That includes outfitting the ambulance.
Right.
Well, didn't you already buy the ambulance last year? If you started the program last year, you bought
No, we
an
started it
ambulance,
this year.
Oh, it just started. This is brand
made-
new in this contract, or in this budget?
That's in this budget, because we made the decision to go ahead, and it didn't impact the budget until this year.
All right, and you're paying for the ambulance out of your operational budget?
The one that we
Yes.
purchased last year is really purchased for
I think.
specialty operation.
The one that was purchased last year is really purchased for law enforcement services. And really, we have one rig that will roll every time there is a hostage situation or a school situation or a barricaded subject. And that squad is staffed with a medical director who's on call, and it's staffed with EMTs that will be allowed in the secure perimeter of any kind of a hostage situation. So there's 2 rigs, one that we purchased for, daily routine residents, and one specifically related to hostage situations.
Just one final question on the rig or the initiative. Do you know what their average response time is for the?
It would really depend on where you are.
It
Well, that's my
depends.
point. In other words, coming to Chatham Township,
Well,
by the time they get here,
honestly, what's going to happen is when you chart all of those GPS systems, each town will tell us, and your town may not have used it. In fact, I didn't see it on the statistics yet this year. Each town will tell us who their backups are, and so sometimes the backup will be Atlantic, and by the time you get to the second or third backup, you kind of know exactly where your ambulances are, and you'll dispatch the closest one that's not committed.
And to your point, I'm glad that you have a vibrant EMS squad, and I come from Denville Township, and we have a vibrant one also. But this one is it's Monday through Friday, from, I believe, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m.
No, it's 5.
Oh, it's the daytime.
Yeah, so it's daytime, and that's where the towns are having the problem, is in the daytime. What we had done in Denville, as a suggestion, is we took the town employees that were willing to and trained them for EMS, make them EMTs, so that they would be available during the day. That's where the shortfalls are coming. It's not the calls at night that you need us. It's not the weekend calls.
Yeah, I understand that, but I just, when you brought out the county dispatch system, I don't think you required all the towns to sign up for that right away. And it was kind of a rolling expense, where I just see this is something we're never going to use. Well, I shouldn't say never say never, right?
Well,
But
we
this is
hope
something-
you never need to
Yes.
use it. I mean, but the point is that with the way we looked at it from the freeholder board is it worth it if we save one life regardless of where it is? And that was the decision that was made on it.
Are you seeing a pattern so far? When did you roll this out?
February.
February? The 3 calls a day, are they going like to the same place all the time? Are there towns that are not pulling their weight?
Towns that are
Not
not pulling their weight. I don't know how to answer that question, because sometimes
John.
if you have 4 towns that have 4 heart attacks at a time.
So I don't know how to answer that question because it's not a real, it's very difficult to answer that.
Well, I would suggest we could answer it that if it's like 1 or 2 towns out of the county that are the only ones using the service, then they're not pulling their weight. That's the way I would look at it. And I think if I presented a presentation to this committee for a $500,000 program to run 1 ambulance on a part-time basis, I don't think it would get approved.
We found it to be very successful. Thanks.
I just add my thoughts to that too, is between the response time to get to Chatham Township and the situation in Chatham Township now, the coverage we have with our local ambulances, that I hope that you do analyze those numbers going forward, because it doesn't seem that it would be proper to keep charging a town that is not relying on this service, and yet it sounds like there are other towns that really truly do rely on a service like this. They don't have the same kind of coverage that they need already, and that there should be some amendment to the billing.
But that's similar to, if I could, I mean, look at the county jail. You think that, I see.
John?
Yeah, we don't like that either.
No, I get your point, but I mean, the truth of the matter is that's county government. That's what it is. It's regionalized. I mean, you don't pay, you know, the jail's built into the tax base. Maybe it's $25 million, but are they all?
I understand that. In fact,
Exactly
I've
right.
defended the county with a former member of the committee about the courts and the prosecutor's office and the sheriff's department and those things that are at the county level. EMS, though, has not been. This is new.
Well, look, when you think about, honestly, when I'm looking at the statistics for like CIS for this year and last year, I mean, you know, Chatham's a decent user of the crime scene investigation. And, you know, not every town is going to ask the question you asked, you know, are they pulling their weight? If there's a lot of crime down here, the sheriff's going to send the CIS unit down here more than they're going to send it to Mountain Lakes, if that's the situation.
That's kind of what I was going to say also, is you may not have a need of the EMS, but you may be using something else that another town's not using that's actually costing more in the budget.
I would also
Yeah,
say that Chatham
probably
Township is
not.
one of the safest towns in the state, if not the country.
It was just an example.
No, I should stand for, you know.
No, we weren't disparaging. We're also doing strategic planning initiatives in the budget this year, because one of the things that's really important when you're looking at a budget, and you've all worked on budgets for many years, and you know what you do yesterday, what you do today, and what you do tomorrow, all affected, and really to find out what are the real things that are needed. Where is Morris County going? Where is it growing? Where is it shrinking? You know, to really find out what the needs are of the community, rather than assume that we know everything. So we are going to do a strategic plan this year. We also started with our mission statement and value statement, which is posted on our website. We are also managing our debt, going on to page 5. We keep our debt level each year, and John was mentioning we just had a bond sale, and the bond sale came in at an average of 1.6, I think it was 1.68, John, or 1.65%. So we got that, I think, was even lower than our last bond sale, even though rates are starting to creep up. Our treasurer is magnificent in doing that. That debt includes various capital projects, $7.8 million for county road resurfacing and intersections reconstruction, $4 million for building and structure improvements, including the criminal justice reform needs, $2.4 million for design and replacement of bridges. I am reading this chart because I think it's important. $2.3 million for law and public safety equipment, $2.2 million for our educational facilities, $2.1 million for public works equipment, and $1.5 million for IT equipment. Now, the critical services that we provide in public safety, obviously we mentioned the jail, the courthouse, the OEM, 911, the health officer and medical examiner. In planning and public works, there's 297 miles of roads that we're responsible for, and that's not just making sure they're paved, but making sure they're plowed. 1,000 bridges and culverts, shade tree, mosquitoes. We are responsible for 3.3, that's a million, right, John? Million square feet of buildings. open space, farmland. You know, we started a trail program this year so that as you can apply for funds for trail programs. And we handle the planning board and construction. In human services, I mentioned Morrisview. And Morrisview has been a large part of our budget. It's roughly in the neighborhood of $8 million. It was projected to grow to $15 million per year. So the board had to make a decision of what to do with Morrisview, and leasing it was the best option. So that will provide future savings in our budget. We provide the Office of Temporary Assistance, nutrition, aging, veteran services, mental health, substance abuse. And, you know, I'm mentioning substance abuse. Our new sheriff has started Project Hope, and he goes around. They have an equipped vehicle that they go around with medical people, with people who are reformed addicts, and go around early in the morning to try to reach out to that population because of the opioid addiction, to reach out to them when they're most vulnerable and try to get them hope and get them into a bed, maybe in a daytop. He's made sure that there are beds available, so if they're willing to go and get themselves help, there's a place for them to go. And that's really been very successful. Recently, I guess last week, and previously we'd had meetings with Moody's and S&P. Our AAA rating was reaffirmed. Morris County has a AAA rating. It really helps to have that AAA rating. We also have the Improvement Authority. So if you or a school has a capital project and they want to utilize the AAA rating from the county through our Improvement Authority, that's a way to pass through what we have onto municipalities to help them save money on the bonds. The reason we have that rating is because we make sure that we plan properly so that our budget can respond to any changes in the economy. We provide long-term and contingent liability management process. We make sure that the money we have is the money we're raising is the money we have and the money we're spending. We do a multi-year financial planning. As I mentioned earlier, what you do today affects tomorrow or the next year. We have strict adherence to a conservative debt management practice and well-defined. We've increased our funding for economic development and tourism. The Economic Development Corporation has worked on a website to get more people to come into Morris County, to get them to be here, to see what we have, because it's a jewel of a county. Our strategic plan for the future, we developed and passed a vision, mission, and guiding principles in November 2016. And when you're trying to put together a Word document and the message, having 7 people with voices, took a little bit of time, but we were able to come together. And the planning that we're starting now is we have the steering committee set up to guide the process. We want to gather the information, identify the challenges, opportunities, and priorities of not just the county, but the individual municipalities, establish strategic priorities, build implementation plans and budget for each pillar so that we're prepared, and produce and communicate the overall strategic plan and implement it. So that is the presentation. I want to thank you for having me here and see if you have any further questions.
On the
Go ahead, Mike, I'm sorry.
Just that last item about the strategic plan, your comment about not just the county, but the individual municipalities, you're looking into strategic needs down the road for individual municipalities?
We need to know what the needs of the county and talk to the municipalities as well as it affects the county budget. We're not doing a municipality plan. We're doing an overall county plan.
You're talking about input from the towns?
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because, no plan is good if we don't ask. Because, first of all, you don't know the problem unless you ask, and you don't know where your next best idea is coming from unless you ask. So, yes, we want you involved. I'm sure there's going to be surveys coming out that we'll be going out to each of the towns and to different stakeholders, not just the towns, but the businesses, to find out what the needs are.
Will you be doing town halls in the various county or various townships or towns as well, or are you just a survey of the municipal elected officials?
There's going to be 3 regional meetings. They
haven't really been located yet or planned. It's just conceptual. Because quite frankly, it'll probably get rolled out after Labor Day, because you're just not going to get the participation between now and Labor Day.
Who's getting the 70K?
The company that we hired,
Yeah, you're hiring a company to do this?
Janus Solutions. Are you familiar with them?
Sounds familiar.
No.
Deb, you mentioned you're not in the state healthcare system for the county employees. What provider do you use?
Cigna?
We were with Horizon for years, and about 2 years ago, we transitioned to Cigna. They offered, a less increase than Horizon was going to offer. And we're out to market now. But, we face the same concerns that any employer faces. I don't know if you're in state health plan or not. But
We are.
You are?
We are.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
There's not a lot of players. There's not a lot of people that
No,
are
there's just-
insuring public agencies, and we were with Horizon and got hit. We had a bad experience year, and they hit us with like a 75% increase. So we had no choice but to go into the state, and that's actually turned out to be good. It's been pretty stable for us for the last several years.
It'll be interesting to see what happens next year, because they were very stable.
It will be interesting to see, see whether they're playing games with it. But at the same token, when you're out on the market like you are now, you always have to be careful because you're going to get lowballed the first year. They plan on that, 3 to 6 month run out on claims, so that you'll see a 25% discount the first year, and then you get hammered once you're in.
Well, I'm a believer in, setting up not just a one-year contract, but having it written in as to if they're willing to do
If you
it.
can,
But they're
sure.
not always willing to do it. I mean, and the reason they went to Cigna, and I wasn't on the board then, but the reason they went to Cigna was the increase from Horizon was more than, it cost more either way, but Horizon was much more.
We had Horizon that, quite frankly, was buying the business for years. And then when they got done trying to stay in the market with a bigger increase. Exactly right, they're all.
I just want to point out, I always do in our budget process. But the way your budget works is different than the way our budget works. The first thing happens around here when you run for office, you start knocking on people's doors and, my taxes go up every year, start with the Board of Ed, it's 2/3 of your taxes. And, roughly say 70% in the county is 15 and we're 15. And if you haven't done anything to your home at all in the last, how many years, Tom? 8, 9? Since 2007?
Yeah,
We
10,
haven't raised
10.
our tax rate is the same as it was in 2007. So if you've done nothing to your home, your municipal tax bill is the same as it was in 2007. But the county looks at the town ratables overall. So if the ratables have increased, and if our ratables increase year over year, even when you were having no tax increases, our taxes were going up in the county because our ratables are rising. And we're fortunate, and it's wonderful, and we're not unthankful for that. But I just pointed out because we have an incredibly large viewing audience, and you're on TV right now. So for those at home watching, so they understand that budget process, even though you may say the county, or your taxes haven't gone up, or the county's only going up 2%, it doesn't necessarily translate. It translates differently from town to town.
Right, it's based upon the equalized value.
Right.
And that table, and that's, I come from the municipal government point of view also, and, trying to understand that. And, even though I said it's $18.44 for the average house of $419,000, until, the tables are done and the tax rate is struck, it's going to be a little different in each town, so.
Yeah. So I just pointed out,
No, I appreciate that, and that's good for the audience to know.
Anyone else?
Anything else?
May I?
Yes, of course.
Just briefly, the page or the chart on the tax rate, if you could just walk us through that a little bit. You have a $1.5 billion increase in ratables, an $8 million decrease in your operations, and yet an increase in the tax rate of almost a half a cent. What's going on with surplus? How much surplus do you have, and how much are you using?
Well, we only use what we can regenerate, which was about 25 million.
How much is left?
24 or 25.
So you use like 50% of it?
Yeah. The budget went down because of an accounting change that the state directed. With any county resident that's in a mental health institution, the county picks up those costs. The county picks up 80% of those costs. So what ends up happening is, you know, we would get billed for the whole thing, and we'd have to build in the whole thing, and then we'd get 80% back. So the state kind of changed that this year, where we just had the budget for the delta. So that's why the budget went down. The tax effort went up for the reasons that Freeholder Smith talked about.
It was an accounting change, to answer the question.
I still don't understand the end result, though. Your operating budget's down 8 million, but your tax rate is up. So unless you have less surplus to use than you did before, or you lost some other miscellaneous revenue, something else is going on within this to generate a tax increase when you're spending less money and you're increasing your ratables.
The tax effort went up. So that's why the tax rate went up. That's correct. I just explained that. It was the mental health costs.
It's in a different bucket. It had to be shifted.
Okay.
Anyone else? All right, well, thank you very much again for coming out this evening and all the work you do on our behalf.
Thank you.
Moving on to reports, we'll start off with Mike.
Nothing to report tonight.
John?
Great. Kevin?
Sure. The planning board met the other night. One of the main issues that the planning board was asked to look at was the skate park, and was it needed to be designated as an area in need of redevelopment. There were some poignant questions asked by members of the board regarding the terminology of such. There are 8 criteria for the designation. You only need to find 1 of 7 or 2 of 8. And given the fact that the Township Committee asked the Planning Board to look at that, and our planner, Mr. Banish, presented it in the narrow scope of what the Planning Board was asked to do, the Planning Board did vote positively in the sense that it was an area in need of redevelopment. Of course, the skate park is our affordable housing zone, so it's obviously the question leads to, which is obviously a topic of conversation in regards to affordable housing. So yes, this is one of the many steps to continue the process, working with Fair Share Housing Corp. And the towns on trying to come to some reasonable and positive assessment for the town on affordable housing. So that was from the planning board.
Great.
That's it. Thanks.
Thanks, sir.
Kevin, the 2 questions, right, went over to the planning board at the same time. The question about whether multifamily housing on the Averitt property was in compliance with the master plan. Do you know what the status is on that?
It's not multi-family housing. It's a townhome development. So it's not apartments that are being proposed. I understand that the planner is still working on out those details and hasn't been formally presented. Informal presentations have been made to the planning board, but not a formal presentation because the details are being worked out between the planners.
Is there any idea of schedule on something like that going forward?
I don't have that schedule right now. But I just want to clarify, and the reason I interrupted is it's not multifamily housing. It's to mean apartments or a large building. It is a townhome development.
Which is multifamily, but it's just a specific kind of multifamily.
Correct. It's,
Okay. Very good.
Thanks, Kevin. Karen?
Well, all right, thank you. Our senior center is still eagerly looking forward to Wednesday, July 9th, when they are hosting a trip to the Yogi Berra Museum and Jackals Baseball in Montclair. The cost is $20 per person, and it's going to be multi-generational. So we want our seniors to come. We want the grandchildren to come. I'm going to be there. I just think anybody who's interested in going can look to our senior center and sign up. So that is July 19th, and that is a Wednesday. The bus will leave the senior center approximately 9:45, returning at 5 p.m. So please get in touch with our senior center in that regard. The Rides for Seniors program gave a nice presentation before the Chatham and Madison Joint Chamber of Commerce breakfast. And Rides for Seniors is going strong. And we've had a lot of interest. We've had a lot of rides. The rides are going to continue through September 30th, at which point they're going to take a look at the cold hard finances of the program to see what kind of sustainability is needed. But based on popularity, it's been a great program. It's great for our seniors. $5 a trip for a 15-mile radius, 24/7. That's Tri-Town 55 plus. So we're so proud of that organization. One highlight as we look forward past the summer is the arrival of pickleball for our seniors. This is something that we were looking forward to putting into place in our gym here in Myersville. Our Department of Public Works will be down there painting 3 pickleball courts. It's sort of a mini tennis or platform tennis. You play singles, doubles. So our seniors are looking forward to that. It's going to be a great source of physical fitness as we look forward to the end of the summer and into the cooler months. So thanks to our DPW as usual. And moving on to DPW, they have finished mulching all of our playgrounds, which is terrific. They did have to close Shumpike for a day. That was all well worth it. They're finished laying the concrete for our new expected trash compactor down at the recycling depot, so that will be in place whenever it gets here. We'll look forward to that. We are still doing road repairs, painting of lines, painting of crosswalks, split rail fence repair as they need to be, and also our storm basins throughout the town. Colony Pool, we're looking forward to some nice warm weather. Schools are closing, the pool will be open. They've just brought in 75 tons of brand new sand to add about a 3 or 4 inch layer of brand new sand around Colony Pool. Typical work, buildings and grounds and everything else, and the township looks great and we're ready for summer. And that's where I am.
Great, thank you. Just a couple of items to remind our residents who are watching at home, you in the audience, that last week's presentation on mosquito and ticks is now online in our video library, so I encourage people to view those to get some updates in terms of how they can protect themselves and prevent mosquitoes here in the township. Want to bring to everyone's attention, who hasn't seen already, late last week, a young woman in Rockaway took her life, and it was a very tragic incident in Rockaway. And we heard from LaSusa earlier this year, one of his biggest concerns in our school system is suicide. So I just want to reiterate to everyone that if you know of anyone who's thinking about it or has concerns about it, to reach out to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention at their 800 number, which is available 24/7, 1-800-273-TALK, 1-800-273-8255. Also want to remind folks, last week we had Colony Pool's open house. Despite the rain, I understand that it was successful. We had a number of people out there. We continue to monitor the number of registrations. It's going to be a great season. This should be a great weekend. I got our first Rosewood Band is back, so live music on Sunday at 2 o'clock. So I encourage everyone to check out the Colony Pool Club. You can register online at colonypoolclub.org. And the last item I want to talk about is Boxcar. We talked about this a few weeks ago as it relates to parking at the Chatham Borough train station. Boxcar is an app where you can go on your iPhone or your Samsung phone and you can find available parking 2 weeks in advance via local businesses. But as it relates to the upcoming summer of madness, it relates to Jersey Transit and diverting trains from Chatham to Hoboken. They're actually running a private bus service. They've arranged it with Madison, Summit, Short Hills, and Milburn from July 10th through September 1st to run this private bus service. We'll post something on our Facebook page with more details. They're actually waiting for Monday night's Chatham Borough committee meeting or town meeting, as it were, to approve it. If it's approved, which I would strongly encourage them to do so, the bus would leave from the Borough train station at 7:15. So this is another opportunity for residents who are trying to find ways or easier ways to commute this summer into the city to consider this. And as I said, it will be on our Facebook page and our homepage as well later this evening or tomorrow. And that's what I have on my list of reports. And of course, we won't be meeting again until after July 4th. So on behalf of the committee, we wish everyone a happy Independence Day. God bless America.
God bless America.
John.
Here.
Thank you, Mayor. The paving program is still on target to start the week of July 10th. We'll be pushing the contractor hard over the next 2 weeks to make sure that schedule is firm, and we will constantly update the webpage to if any changes. We do have, reported previously, we have a DOT grant that's going to go towards Roberts, a portion of Dale, and a portion of Spring. I did add those roads to the schedule, and I just put them down to be determined. I had to do that only because we can't do that work until we have DOT approval. It's they gave us a grant, but there is a process. We have to provide drawings. We have to provide a host of certifications, and it's all a process. But the Dale Drive neighborhood is scheduled for the week of July 24th, and that gives us, I think, plenty of time to get all that paperwork behind. So I'm hoping within the next 2 or 3 weeks, when the paving starts, that's going to come into place, and then we can just add that to the schedule, and it's going to go very smoothly with the whole process. So looking forward to that start. And
John, can you just remind, this is the paving schedule for this summer. Is there additional paving going on next year as well, or no? Is this the extent?
No, we have not set any budget for next year.
Okay.
This is just for this year. We have the roads that are scheduled, and there's a number of roads. It's a very large neighborhood. It's a Sunset neighborhood, the Van Houten neighborhood, and the Dale Drive neighborhood, and we list all the roads in those neighborhoods. So it's a very substantial amount of paving that's going to occur. It's going to occur over at least 3 weeks, and so we'll be notifying residents, continuously as the process.
And do you recall the number of miles?
Oh, I think you asked me that the last time, Mayor. I apologize.
It's all right. I just think it's a good
Using the county model, it's about 67 miles.
67 miles.
Who's paying for it? Just your own drive.
Noted.
So the
1/3.
But we did increase the budget this year to do more rather than
substantially
less.
more.
Yes.
Correct. We have 2 wastewater projects that are active, one being the UV replacement over at the Tanglewood plant, and the other is renovations of a pump station. Nothing really to report on those projects. Woodland Pathway, that was awarded last meeting. That is going through the contract process of obtaining performance bonds, insurance certificates, and getting those contracts in place. And so I don't have any firm dates of when that would start, but I would anticipate that may be an August project. So that's, but again, just too early to report when the contractor would actually mobilize. That's all I have, Mayor.
Great. Any questions?
In addition to the paving that the township is responsible for, we will also, at some point in time, come to grips with Lafayette Avenue being repaved.
Oh, absolutely.
Right,
Absolutely. I think I think it's in our best interest to wait until the
Right.
road settles, and I think we just nearly need to look at the school schedule in the fall and just pick a day when the school is out, or even possibly a weekend.
Right.
It's even a possibility. I don't think it's a major paving effort for them to do the road, so we might as well. We want that road to last
Right.
20-plus years. We want to do it at the right time.
And I would remind the public, anybody who's listening, that we will take calls. We are in contact with New Jersey American Water. There are places that have been repaired that are still in need of repair, and we are in touch with them as the road settles, as their asphalt settles, and it creates, uncomfortable driving situations, even on a 25-mile-an-hour road.
And any update on any of the sidewalks while we're at it?
I do periodically, I would say almost every 3 days, every 4 days, I do at least twice a week. I do reach out to the DOT just with an email saying, is there any progress at all? I'm trying to find out if, in fact, the second grant, will they offer that design assistance? Is that going to go through the same process? I'm not getting any feedback there. I'm pushing, I just haven't gotten any feedback. Where it stands, it's still in the DOT's hands of negotiation with the design consultant.
So we're just
It's a long negotiation.
hurry up and wait. Okay. Thank you. Chief? Anything? Good. Tom?
Good.
Great. All right, we'll,
You guys cover everything,
we'll try. We're now going to open up for a hearing of citizens. This is an opportunity for any member of the public to be heard about issues which are not topics scheduled for public hearing tonight. To help facilitate an orderly meeting and to permit all to be heard, speakers are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes. Hi? No? Would you like to? Yeah. Sorry. What's your name and address?
Julia Turco, 6 Yarmouth Road. And I just wanted to talk about the train problem that's going to be a bigger problem than you think. It's already a problem now and hasn't even started. My husband gets on the train and halfway to Chatham they say, well, we're not going to Chatham tonight, sorry. What's going on? And everybody gets dumped off in Summit or wherever, everybody converges. It's going to be a mess. And I was hoping the township was considering, I don't know, thinking of doing something. I don't know what the boxcar is, but...
Well, I mean, given the fact that the train station is in the borough, we're kind of limited as to what we can do. Boxcar is an app, as we've discussed at prior meetings, where they actually have relationships with local businesses in the borough, where if you go on your Android or your iPhone, it's Boxcar, you know, whatever, you can download the app itself, but it shows you the various places where you can reserve a spot around the train station to access parking for anywhere from one day to 2 weeks. As it relates to the challenges with the train situation this summer, they're actually creating this private bus service. It can be a luxury bus, bathroom, Wi-Fi, et cetera, and so on. I think it's $14 or $13.99 one-way trip into the city, Penn Station, 34th, and then I think it goes up to Park Avenue.
Well, I think if you are on a train that is due in Penn Station at 7 a.m., you're not going to have a problem. So I don't think getting in is the big problem. I think getting out is going to be the big problem.
Sure. Well, I share your pain because I'm in that same boat.
Yeah,
My
we don't
commute
need
is
a train
typically
station.
45
We
minutes.
still have a lot of people that commute and are going to need to be on it, to get home. So I was just hoping.
Well, I think that it's just going to take a lot of communication. It's obviously going to take a shakedown cruise, so to speak. The first week or two is going to present challenges. People are going to have to work with their employers to say, I don't know what it's going to be like. Those first 4 trains in the morning that get into Penn before 7 may be additionally crowded. But then, as you said, on the way home, everybody's going through Hoboken. So whether you're going to be taking a ferry from one side of Manhattan to the other or the PATH train, that's how you do it.
I don't know if it's Secaucus going to be.
Well, and Tom suggested driving to Weehawken. They do have ferries in Weehawken and Bedford at Newport that do come across to Manhattan. So, not driving isn't an option for everybody.
No, it's
but
going to be a mess.
it'll.
I was just thinking of maybe trains going to Secaucus, we could get a bus, pick people up, and bring them home.
Yeah, I don't know that the township would.
Yeah.
Julia, did you say you had made some calls, that you had called a private carrier or two?
I did.
Did you find anything out?
They sent me a quote for 2 pickups a night in Secaucus, 6 and 8, and it was $600 a day. I said, what about 1? They didn't get back to me with 1. So.
Well, I'll share your thoughts, your ideas with Joe Colangelo, who's the president of Boxcar. What they did is they surveyed commuters several weeks ago in terms of who had an interest for this private bus service in the morning, and perhaps if there's enough, feedback from folks like your husband and others for a return trip, maybe they'll consider that as well.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to? All right, we'll close out the hearing of citizens. Moving on to the consent agenda. Greg, would you mind reading those off for us?
This evening, we have Resolution 2017-126, receipt of reports, 2017-127, approving meeting minutes, 2017-128, releasing performance bond, 2017-129, appointing police officer, 2017-130, appointing police officer, 2017-131, colony tennis refund, 2017-132, renewing joint municipal court shared services agreement, 2017-133, renewal of liquor license, and 2017-134, approving fire department memberships.
Any questions?
Yes, Mayor. On the municipal court shared services, Tom, is there any change in that from what we've had in the past, or whether in operationally or cost-wise?
Cost-wise for us is about the same, very, very slight increase, and we are still way, 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 way ahead of where we would be. So, the way that the budget is divided is based upon caseload, and we're one of the smaller municipalities participating in terms of what we demand from the court, so our cost is pretty low.
Thank you.
The gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah. Anyone else?
It is.
I guess we'll just make mention of Resolution 2017-134 regarding the membership to the Green Village Fire Department. Andy Schumacher, we welcome him, and actually the Chatham Township Fire Department. We welcome him and thank him for his service. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Swartz?
Yes.
Mayor Ritter?
Yes.
Mayor, I do have one thing that I would like to report, just kind of a schedule issue.
Sure.
One of the designated holidays for the municipality is Election Day in November. And traditionally, the employees like to give that holiday up in exchange for either piggybacking with the 4th of July, depending on where it falls, or Christmas, depending on where it falls. This year, 4th of July is on a Tuesday, so there was some discussion about possibly doing July 3rd and making that a long weekend. The other option was to do the day, Christmas I think is a Sunday or Monday, so the day after, the 26th, could make that a 4-day weekend. Ultimately, what we all agreed on, as long as you consent to it, is to actually convert it into a floating holiday that the employees can take when they choose under the same rules that they use vacation days, so that we will actually remain open both of those days instead of closing. With your consent, we'll do that, and this is a way of letting people know we will in fact be open on July 3rd.
Is there a minimum number of people who need to be in the building? Or like everyone but one person?
Yeah, we deal with that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, if everyone from the construction office comes in, that's great, but if no one up front comes in, that's not.
No, we're not, it's not going to turn into where everybody takes off the same day.
Mm-hmm.
So typically it's, one person per office, because most of the offices are very lightly staffed to begin with. So we work that out among ourselves.
Yeah, it's fine.
There are days that I'm the receptionist at 3 o'clock.
Very good. Thank you. We'll now, any items for discussion? All right, we'll now open up for hearing of citizens. All right, we'll close out the hearing of citizens. And Greg, you want to read us executive session resolution?
I will first ask our administrator and attorney if there's any update on open space, or if we can take that out. Okay.
There is?
Let's see. Okay. So we have Resolution 2017-P-10, resolution of the Township Committee of the Township of Chatham and the County of Morris, State of New Jersey, authorizing conference of the Township Committee with the public excluded, whereas NJSA 10:4-12 of the Open Public Meetings Act permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances, and whereas the Township Committee of the Township of Chatham is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist, now therefore be it resolved by the Township Committee of the Township of Chatham, County of Morris, State of New Jersey, as follows. Public shall be excluded from discussion of the specified subject matter. The general nature of the subject matter to be discussed is as follows. Personnel, Public Works, litigation in the matter of the Township of Chatham for a judgment of compliance of its third round housing element and fair share plan, docket number MRS-L-1659-15, and also property acquisition, open space. It is anticipated that the minutes on the subject matter of the executive session will be made public upon conclusion of the matter under discussion, and in any event when appropriate pursuant to NJSA 10:4-7 and 4-13. The committee will come back into regular session and may take further action. This resolution shall take effect immediately.
There's just one correction.
Sure.
I believe there will be action.
Will be action. Very good, thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz?
Yes?
Mayor Ritter?
Yes.